JBNN, we keep you informed. I am Michelle Jones, and in the news, for parts police help troubled youngster get back to school. In 2020, 15-year-old Kimberly Powell was placed at Vere Technical High School after sitting the primary exit profile examinations. The financial constraints in his family saw him not being able to move forward with his education. Recently, it came to the attention of the Four Parts Police in Clarendon when a family rift saw Kimberly, his mother, and two of his brothers turning up there. While he was on duty, there was a family dispute which brought them to the station. I live in the same community and know the family, but didn't know the history of why I wasn't going to school, Constable Richard Roy shared. He said his colleague, Sergeant Michael Berry, was interviewing Powell, and based on the situation, Berry said that it seemed like Marley was destined for state care. He wasn't going to school, he was drinking and smoking, but he also said he always wished that he was going back to school, Roy informed. It was that glimmer of light that saw the team at the station deciding to do all they could to give the youngster a second chance. Powell, who spoke, said that it was always his dream to go back to school. One of the time me give up, because Mrs. said nobody no care, he shared. So at one point I go live with a cousin at Wall Harbour. However, I never have anything for do. I'm very, very happy now that I'm going to school. Sometimes I wish I had my own money to go every day, he said. Constable Roy is also crediting Rosemary Nichols, otherwise called Denise, from the community, who he says is so happy that Paul is back in school. She makes it her duty to assist with his lunch money. The team from my office assists with other things, and we're so happy to see the progress that he's making, he shared. Now a student at the Maypen Academy, Rose said after the team decided to intervene, they sent Paul to the school he was initially placed, but because he was never registered, he was directed to go to Region 7 office of the Ministry of Education to sort it out. He was eventually placed at his current school, with the team paying for his package, as well as meeting his other needs, such as school uniforms, shoes, and books. As for Powell, he is super happy, and although he missed 2 years of school, he said it was not hard catching up with the class. From the first day I went in, the teacher them loved me and asked me which school me used to go. Them saw me bright, so me just laugh, because me know me never got no school, he said. Man sentenced to 8 months imprisonment for killing father. A man who killed his father 11 years ago was sentenced to 8 months imprisonment for manslaughter in the St. Catherine Circuit Court on Monday. In handing down sentence, the judge noted that 37-year-old Dwayne Huggins of Bogwalk, St. Catherine, had already spent 11 years in custody and was suffering from mental illness. He had also turned himself into the police and pleaded guilty to killing 59-year-old Daniel Huggins. Attorneys at law Donald Bryan and Abina Morris told the court that at the time of the incident, Huggins was an outpatient with mental illness at the Linstead Hospital. It was reported that Dwayne was at home on June 18, 2011, when he was attacked with a baton by his father, and during the physical confrontation, Dwayne got hold of the weapon and hit his father. Dwayne then used the machete to chop his father on the neck, and the senior Huggins subsequently died from injuries received. The accused later surrendered to the Bogwalk police. He was arrested on suspicion of murder and was subsequently charged. Man's body found in Rio Cobre. Investigators in the St. Catherine North Police Division are probing the death of a man whose body was found on Tuesday morning in the Rio Cobre in St. Catherine. It's Bradley Basaraj, a 19-year-old of Rivoli, Spanish Town in St. Catherine. The police say about 8:45 a.m. a passerby stumbled upon the body. The police were called, and upon their arrival, Basaraj's body was seen with the hands and feet bound. The body had what appeared to be gunshot wounds. One of the man's relatives said that he was last seen alive on Sunday and said that he was going on an errand. We do not know where he was going, but it's sad for no see how it end, the relative said. Policeman freed of murder charge. Detective Constable Sean Pennington, who was charged with the 2018 murder of Rishon Oliver, was freed in the St. Catherine Circuit Court on Tuesday. The jury retired for 15 minutes and returned a unanimous verdict of not guilty. Justice Bertram Morrison then told Pennington that he was free to go. The trial lasted for 3 weeks, during which 5 witnesses were called for the Crown. The Crown led evidence that on February 24, 2018, residents of Pusey District, Point Hill, St. Catherine, reported hearing explosions. Checks were made, and Oliver was found lying in a pool of blood. the police were contacted, and upon their arrival, Oliver reportedly made a dying declaration, giving the alias of his attacker. Investigators subsequently picked up Pennington, who reportedly went by that alias. Pennington was later charged with murder. Woman convicted of murdering ex. A Kingston businesswoman was remanded on Monday for sentencing in the Home Circuit Court on February 20 next year after she was found guilty of the stabbing death of her ex-boyfriend during a domestic dispute in 2019. Normalin Dawes, 33, a bar operator of East Street, was found guilty of murder by Justice Leighton Pusey following a judge-alone trial. Dawes was arrested on charge following the murder of O'Shane Coley, who was stabbed in the neck and chest. Prosecutors led evidence that Dawes was involved in an on-and-off relationship with Coley, murdered him at her home following a dispute. The Crown said that the argument started on March 7 at 4 p.m. and escalated the following day. Coley was stabbed thrice outside Dawes' home. After he was stabbed, Coley ran from the home and collapsed on Union Street. He was taken to the Kingston Public Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. But lead attorney at law for the defendant, Paul Gentles, had argued that his client had killed Coley in self-defense and that was also provoked. He said that based on his client's instruction, Coley had broken into her home through the window after his attempts to breach her door failed. Coley reportedly attacked her in a fit of jealousy because of her business dealings with construction workers. We were also saying that there were constant physical abuse when the relationship was broken off, the lawyer said following the verdict. However, Gentles said the judge rejected the self-defense and provocation arguments based on the evidence presented, including a trail of blood outside the home. Coley had been on the run after absconding bail on a murder charge in the middle of his trial when he was killed. Devon Harriott, Michael Jacobs and Coley were found guilty in the gun court in their absence on September 28, 2017 and were to be sentenced on October 20. The men were found guilty of killing Craig Lewis after shooting him multiple times. The court heard that the three were among four gunmen who invaded Lewis's St. Catherine home on the morning of December 7, 2009 and fired nearly 30 rounds, striking him 12 times. Lewis, before succumbing to his injuries 9 days later, had given police investigators a detailed statement identifying his killers. Attorney at law Kemar Settle also represented Dawes. Mavado should keep it civil, says Townsend. Former attorney at law Jennifer Macedo will stand trial March 1 next year on allegations that she defrauded dancehall entertainer Mavado of more than $30 million. However, attorney at law Christopher Townsend, who represents the embattled Macedo, believes that Singh J. Mavado ought to be focused on pursuing redress through the civil courts instead of the criminal courts. Mrs. Macedo has filed for bankruptcy, and it is a trustee in bankruptcy who will distribute assets from which E. Mavado is making a claim. However, Mavado has not made a civil claim. Instead, he has been focusing on the criminal courts when he should really be focusing on the civil courts. Between 80 to 90% of the cases filed against Macedo already have been settled through the civil courts, Christopher Townsend said. Winning the case next year doesn't mean that Mavado will be getting back any money, but Mavado has been focused on this particular course of action instead of pursuing her in civil courts. Macedo is accused of defrauding Mavado of more than $30 million in a real estate deal in 2018. In the meantime, according to Oswest Sin Smith, Mavado's lawyer, his client appeared to be very encouraged given the setting of trial dates. Mavado wanted to give his testimony via video link from the U.S. in the trial. Sin Smith had made an application to this effect, but it is still unclear whether the entertainer will be granted permission to do so due to the talk of an outstanding warrant. Sin Smith did not confirm whether Mavado would appear in person or via video link for the newly scheduled court dates, but said that the issue is moot. From my perusal of the file, the critical witnesses are the two who gave the accused lawyer the various sums on behalf of Mr. Brooks. In fact, Mr. Brooks' potential testimony is little more than providing a framework, Sin Smith surmised. Mavado, given name David Brooks, is known for songs including Wedemado, I'm So Special, and Star Boy. Andem's son released from SOE detention. The son of incarcerated former notorious gang leader Joel Andem was on Saturday released by police after being detained under the state of emergency SOE recently imposed in sections of Kingston and St. Andrew. He was in custody for nearly 2 weeks without being charged for a criminal offense. The alleged interim leader of the land lease gang, 21-year-old Tomoya Andem, was freed following an order from the review board for the state of emergency for him to be charged or released by 5 p.m. on Saturday. Police had taken Andem into custody on December 6, on the same day the SOE was imposed, based on intelligence that he was allegedly leading a criminal organization and is involved in criminal activities, including possession of an illegal weapon and ammunition. The police also claimed that it was a threat to public safety, had reportedly garnered information that Andem and his associates were planning a reprisal attack on members of the Mad and Mean gang following an attack on one of his alleged cronies. According to the police, Andem, since his release from prison in October, has been walking around in the land lease community, firing shots and driving fear into the residents. Attorneys at law Courtney Rowe and John Jacobs, representing Andem, had made a habeas corpus application for his release on December 13 in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court after he had been in custody for a week and was not charged, but the investigator had requested additional time to conduct a question and answer session, which was granted. However, Andem's case was reviewed on Saturday by the panel, who made the order for him to either be released or charged. Rose said that the police had asked the review panel for more time to collect statements and were told to do so by Saturday evening. According to the lawyer, the police had not served his client with any detention notice when he was detained and only served him 2 days before the panel was to meet. Andem and Zaydon Douglas were freed of drug charges in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on October 19. Both men were charged with possession of ganja, dealing and trafficking in ganja last May. The prosecution led evidence that on May 13, 2021, the men were passengers in a motor car traveling along Derrimore Road in St. Andrew, in which police found 100 pounds of ganja in a bag on the back seat of the car and 6 other bags in the trunk. But the men denied knowing that ganja was inside the car, claiming they had just been picked up by the driver and the passenger was in the vehicle. The judge, in freeing the men, said the smell of ganja alone was not sufficient in law to find them guilty. The passenger and the driver had pleaded guilty to the charges. In sports news, Jamaica's women top World Athletics Nations rankings. Jamaica finished top of the Women's Track Nations rankings for 2022, according to the sports governing body. The World Athletics rankings, which are based off data from the 2022 World Athletics Championships in Eugene, Oregon, have the Jamaican women finishing first with 75 points, followed by the USA in close second with 74 points, and the Ethiopia in third with 60 points. Meanwhile, Great Britain 39 points, Kenya 39 points, Netherlands 20 points, Nigeria 13 points, Kazakhstan 12 points, Bahamas 10 points, and Dominican Republic 10 points rounded out the top 10 women's teams. Jamaica finished third on the overall medal table with 10, 2 golds, 7 silvers, and 1 bronze. The women contributed to the majority of the medal tally, with the men only copying a silver medal in the 4x400 meter relay. Meanwhile, the men finished 5th in the rankings. The United States men's team placed first with 118 points, followed by Kenya with 46 points. United Kingdom and Canada placed 3rd and 4th respectively with 28 and 24 points. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.